and it's time to meet our special guest. He is Saeed Froko. He is a published author, a poet, a law student, and of course, no, not of course, actually, and he also happens to have a first degree in integrated development studies. Quite the CV you have, young man. You're welcome. You know what? We're gonna dive right into it because I want us to talk. There's so much to talk about. Um, so let's start off with our tradition. You brought a book to read.
Right, yes.
Which of these lovely books are you?
I brought The Agony of Barrenness and
The one you are reading for us today.
yes, read The Agony of Barrenness.
Is that what you're reading? Because I thought you were going to read something else.
Yes.
Chinua Achebe.
Yes, and then
Yeah.
A Man of the People by Chinua Achebe.
Okay, so
and then Twisted by the
so
Person.
those are your books. We are
Right.
going to go into that,
Right,
but we are going to start off with a special reading from
Right.
one of your favorite authors. So
Right.
that is going to be Chinua Achebe,
Right.
A Man of the People, right?
Right.
So why did you choose it to read?
A Man of the People because I think it has something to do with my second work,
Mm-hmm.
which tend to center on oppression, tend to center on corruption and bribery, and these are very topical issues when it comes to, most governments in Africa.
True.
And A Man of the People is one book that chronicles the unrest in Africa, especially when it comes to matters of corruption, matters of bribery.
Fantastic. So let's hear the chapter you want to read.
Right, this chapter 2.
Uh huh.
Alright, so do I start?
Yes, please.
So, chapter 2 of A Man of the People by Chinua Achebe. A common saying in the country after independence was that it didn't matter what you knew, but who you knew. And believe me, it was no ideal talk. For a person like me who simply couldn't stoop to lick any big man's boots, it created a big problem. In fact, one reason why I took this teaching job in a bush private school instead of a smart civil service job in the city with car, free houses, etc., was to give myself a certain amount of autonomy. So when I told the minister that I had applied for a scholarship to do a postgraduate certificate of education in London, it did not even cross my mind to enlist his help. I think it is important to stress this point. I had scholarships both to the secondary school and to the university without any godfather's help, but purely on my own merit. In any case, it wasn't too important whether I did the postgraduate course or not. As far as I was concerned, the important thing was going to be the opportunity of visiting Europe, which in itself must be a big education. My friend Andrew Kadibe, who did the same course the previous year, seemed to have got a big kick out of it. I don't mean the white girls. You can have those out here nowadays, but quite small things. I remember him saying, for instance, that the greatest delight of his entire visit to Britain was when, for the first time in his 27 years, a white man, a taxi driver I think, carried his suitcase and said "sir" to him. He was so thrilled he tipped the man 10 shillings. We laughed a lot about it, but I could so easily see it happen. But much as I wanted to go to Europe, I wasn't going to sell my soul for it or beg anyone to help me. It was the minister himself who came back to the postgraduate question at the end of the reception without any prompting whatever from me. As a matter of fact, I tried hard to avoid catching his attention again. And the proposals he made didn't seem to me to be offensive in any way. He invited me to come and spend my holidays with him in the capital, and while I was there, he would try and find out from his cabinet colleague, the Minister of Overseas Training, whether there was anything doing. If you come as soon as you close, he said, you can stay in my guest room with everything complete. Bedroom, parlor, bathroom, latrine, everything self-contained. You can live by yourself and do anything you like there. It's all yours. Make you no mean sha, said Mrs. John to me. I can say you no good boy. Make you no gree spoiled you. Make a no day for this bedroom and bathroom business, so as you see this man so, now wicked so. If he tell you stand, make you run. Everybody laughed. Elinor, why you want disgrace me and spoil my name so for public for nothing sake? Waiting I do you. Everybody here sabi say me na good Christian. No be so, James. Ha, na so say, replied the journalist happily. In spite of all this joking, the minister's invitation was serious and firm. He said it was important I came at once as he was planning to go to the United States in about 2 months. They are going to give me doctorate degree, he announced proudly. Doctor of Laws, LLD. That's great, I said. Congratulations. Thank you, my brother. So the minister will become Chief the Honorable Dr. M.A. Nangra, intoned the journalist, a whole second ahead of my own thought on the matter. We all cheered the impressive address and its future owner. You know, she said the title fit my name, Pim, said the minister with boyish excitement, and we all said it suited him perfectly. But the man way I like him name past na Chief the Honorable Alhaji Dr. Mongo Sengo MP, said the minister somewhat wishfully. His own good too, admitted the incomparable journalist, the incomparable journalist. But pass you own, sir, said the Honorable DMA Nanga, MPLLD. Now, wow, nothing fit passam.
Wow. That was quite a mouthful. The Honorable what?
Chief Nanga.
Chief Nanga.
Right.
No, that's just like the short film of it, right? Honorable yes. Chief LLD.
Yes. Chief the Honorable DMA Nanga, MPLLD.
Okay, so I'm sure Chinua Achebe was trying to be sarcastic, isn't it?
That's true.
About how some of our so-called leaders impose all these like big titles and big names.
That's true.
Most of them baseless.
That's true. And also would want you to lick their boot. They would want you to worship them before actually you will get what you want. And if you look at chapter 2 very carefully, Odili chose not to even be in the public service because he wanted to have this kind of self-rule to himself. He wanted to achieve things based on his own merit and not based on anyone helping him. And so when you look at, like I said earlier, most government of Africa, because of the level of corruption and bribery, you cannot easily achieve anything on your own merit. You either have to pay something to someone before you can get it, or even if you get it from that person, but the person will expect some form of appreciation from you.
True.
Yeah.
And what's so remarkable about this story is that we know that, Chinua Achebe is a Nigerian author.
That's true.
And
that's
yet
true.
This is a story that we can all relate to.
Yes,
even
it has that, continental flavor of Africa. It wasn't a story. In fact, this was probably the first story that he wrote that did not have the Nigerian setting.
Yeah.
It tended to have the continental setting of Africa.
Right.
And it is because he realized the level to which bribery and corruption were so endemic in most
still
African
is
government.
endemic.
It is still endemic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could I say Chinua Achebe is one of your favorite authors?
He's my favorite author.
Is he the reason why you ventured into writing yourself?
Yes, the major reason why. I was actually inspired by the works of a number of African writers, and Chinua Achebe is at the top of those writers. And aside him, Aikwe Ama, the author of The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born, Ngugi wa Thiong'o of Kenya, Jack Mapanji of Malawi, Ama Ata Aido of Ghana, and Bessie Head of South Africa.
Fantastic. Yes, you know your stuff. And so, listeners, like I said, Saeed Froko is a published author himself, a young man who is successful in his own rights. Today, you've come to the studio with 2 of your books.
Right.
What are the names of these books?
The first one is The Agony of Barrenness, which was published in 2018.
Okay.
And the second one is Twisted by the President, which will launch next year, God willing.
Which will launch next year.
Yes.
Thank you if you've been with us from the beginning at 12, and if you just tuned in, welcome. Stay tuned because the most interesting part of the show is just about to begin. My guest in the studio today is Saeed Froko, and Saeed is an author. He is so much more than just an author. He is a poet. But you know what? Why do I talk when the man himself is in the studio? Two of his books are The Agony of Barrenness and then Twisted by the President. When I heard those titles, I was like, we need to get this young man into the studio. Well, not so young. I asked him how old he was, and I was gum-smucked. Is that a word? One of my... Yes. Well, take me back to school, Yasmin. Anyway, so Saeed, let's get right into it. So, listeners, if you've ever wanted to write, if you love books, this is the interview for you, because by the end of the show, you will learn so much.
That's true.
Saeed, welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for coming on the show. Right. Quickly, a little bit about yourself and where you come from.
My name, as you rightly mentioned, is Saeed Fadlulahi Froko. In fact, my first name is Fadlulahi.
Fadlulahi.
But people find a lot of difficulty pronouncing it, so I just easily tell them, well, you can call me Saeed or you can call me Froko. I come from a poorest region of Ghana, where I was born in 1984 on the 28th of May. I started my life in Jijeriyu Primary School.
Jijeriyu?
Yes. I wasn't a... let me just say, I was a very poor student when I started my life in Jijeri Primary School.
Okay.
Because from 1992, when I was in class 1, till 1997 in class 6, I couldn't read. Yeah, but I just didn't know why they kept pushing me from class 1, class 2, class 3. Somebody who could not read.
To get you out of the school quick.
I want to believe so. and that tells you that they were not very much concerned about the individual challenge that some of my colleagues were having, including myself. So in class 6, my brother, who by then was a trained teacher in Tamale, he was teaching in Baga demonstration. His name is Muhammad Yahya, but he's popularly known as Sosket. So he decided to take me from my mom and then give me some kind of self-training, because his feeling was that if I remain in the hands of my mom, I will not be able to excel to the extent that he wanted me to excel. And so when he took me to Tamale and realized that I had a very big challenge when it comes to reading, he decided to sit me down and taught me how to read, and that was actually my breakthrough.
And that was your breakthrough, and look where you are right now. Today, you are a published author, and then you are also a law student.
That's true.
You know, so
at the Ghana School of Law.
Really?
Right,
wow. You know, so that's amazing. So, okay, so you first had your first degree in integrated development studies.
Yes, please.
And then you went on to become a law student, and you are actually still in law school.
That's true. Yes.
At what point did you decide to become a writer, especially given the background you just gave us? Like, when did you discover your talent for writing?
I discovered my talent for writing around 2012.
Okay.
And it was after I had read so many books in literature, books written by Chinua Achebe, books written by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, books written by B.C. Head and the like. And anytime I read those books, I tried as much as I could to pick some words from those books and then use them in forming sentences of my own. And after that, then I'll sit down and said, okay, you've read these books, you've learned some beautiful sentences. Can you sit down and use those sentences to just do a little bit of poetry work? So that was when I actually discovered that I could write, because the feeling was that those who wrote novels like this, I mean, where are human beings like me? And so if they could get that time, they could find that time to sit down and write. I mean, why can't I? I mean, looking at the fact that they've been through the same system as I've also been through, went through formal education. So those were the kind of feelings that I have, and that's what just helped me, and then helped me to get to this stage.
So at that point, you decided to become a writer.
Right.
When did you write your first book?
That was in 2012.
The first book?
Yes,
okay.
My first book was written in 2012. It was not published in 2012.
Because I don't see it here.
Yes. But I began writing it in 2012, and I finished writing it in 2012.
What's the title of that one?
The Agony of Barrenness.
Oh, so Agony of Barrenness is that old?
Yes.
It's a story you started in 2012.
2012.
Eventually publishing it in.
Yes, in 2018.
6 years.
Yes, and the reason was that at that time I was doing my national service at Commander Senior High School in Central Region.
Fantastic.
Yes, so whilst I was doing my national service, service, I was writing the Agony of Barrenness, but I was not very conversant with these IT works and then using laptops and blah blah. So I
Mm.
was writing it in a notebook, and the belief was that after I finish with it, then I will get someone else to type it for me.
Wow.
So when I finished writing it, I just put it down because I wasn't getting somebody who will devote that time to
To
sit
type
down
it
and
out.
type it. So that is probably what took me this long to get it published. So it was after some few years when I became a little bit conversant with typing, and then I said, okay, now let me sit down and then face my own music. Yes, so around 2017, I got other people to help me. We finished typing it, we took it to the publication company, and that's the
And
Agony of
that's
Barrenness.
wow.
Yes,
So
yes,
it
yes.
for me, all I hear is determination and just pure perseverance.
That's true.
Because starting as a kid who could barely read
Mm,
in
mm, mm.
who could barely read in school, to the kid who started reading some of the finest
That's true.
authors in the world, and then writing his own book.
But you know what was so amazing about me
No.
when I was in the primary school was that, in as much as I was very poor academically, but whenever it came to storytelling, I used to excel in class.
Okay. So
Yes.
you've always been a storyteller.
So yes, so I feel that my attachment with writing or storytelling probably has something to do with that period, because
Mm.
a lot of my classmates, and in fact a lot of my teachers, were always amazed by the kind of stories I used to tell. I was finished with stories that center on how the frog had a rough skin. I was finished with stories that center on why the leopard is having spots.
Oh,
Unfortunately, I've forgotten some of these stories.
but these are stories
Yeah,
that
but
you
these are
actually
stories.
came up
Yes,
with.
yes, yes. These are stories I was finished with, and that I used to say these stories in class to the admiration of my classmates. Yeah.
Wow, so that actually, let me take this to a different angle a little
Mm,
bit. We had
mm,
a conversation about formal education in the studio
mm,
last week,
mm, mm.
and it's interesting because like one could have the talent, but okay, you just didn't know how to write it in English.
That's true.
It doesn't mean you did not have the
That's
talent.
true. That's
So
true.
I finally get what
Mm,
someone was trying to tell me
mm,
last
mm,
week
mm, mm.
about the fact that education is like it's called education.
That's
It's
true.
broad. It's
Yes.
education
Very
in
broad.
whatever language it
It
is,
is. It is.
in whatever setting, Islamic, Christian, or whatever it is. So you were already educated because you could tell stories.
That's
So
true.
if you were
Yes. Yes.
born, let's say if you knew how to write in Wale,
Mm.
you would probably be writing it in
Definitely.
Wale, definitely.
Definitely.
So
That's true.
you didn't
And
actually,
that is one of the target I have set for myself.
yeah.
Yes, I feel that as time goes on, I should be able to move from the English
Yeah.
to
So
telling
you didn't.
stories
So
in
you
the
did
local
not
language.
actually become educated because just when you learned to write in English, you've
That's true.
always been educated. You've
That's
always
true.
been the
That's
talent.
true. That's true. I agree with
So
you.
I would like us to go right into the agony of barrenness.
Mm,
All
mm.
right. I'd like you to hold it up because it's a big, beautiful book. I love the cover.
Yeah.
I love the girl.
Mm.
Are we seeing this? Of course, you can watch us live on Facebook where we are streaming Africa Global Radio. Agony of Barrenness.
Right.
I read a bit about the book. Without giving too much away, it's about a woman who could not have
That's
kids
true.
and what she went,
Mm.
what went on in society. Tell me about the background of this book, right?
Mm,
What
mm.
inspired you? Are a man. I
That's
wouldn't be
true.
asking this question
Yes,
if you're a
yes,
female.
yes,
So it's
yes.
I'm very curious to why this topic piqued your attention.
You see, one important thing about writers is that we write to draw the attention of people to certain things that are happening in society which are not supposed to be happening.
True.
And stories are very important because it takes a story, or it takes a man to give a story, to paint another person black. It takes another person to give a story to, demystify certain belief one person has
Okay,
made mention
yeah.
about you. Barrenness is something that is very pronounced, especially when it comes to the northern part of Ghana, and regarding the kind of treatment that women who are barren, they get. It's an African problem. I don't discount that. But if you look at
So-called barren women, I would say.
yes,
In any
yes,
case,
yes,
because a lot of the times the men are not even checked. So
that's
who
true.
says who is
That's
barren,
that's
right?
true. That's true. And oftentimes the blame is put on the woman
automatically,
because it
yes.
is believed that they, as those who are supposed to be doing what we call the childbearing.
Mhm.
So it is a serious problem. Now, what makes it more serious is that if we look at a woman who is incapable of giving birth, that in itself is a big trauma for that woman.
True.
So if we take that aside, then you now take a look at or you observe the societal treatments that are being heaped on this woman because she cannot give birth. So she finds herself in a double kind of jeopardy where like she will ultimately just be the appeaser of her own heart. No one is there for her. No one is there to, speak a word or two to her to encourage her and let her know that look, it is God who gives, and He gives at the time that He so desires. But we foist all kinds of superstitious belief on these women, and then we subject them to all kind of nasty and torturous ordeal. And when you do that, then it means that you are not appreciating God's creation. It means you are not appreciating womanhood in its true form. And so I felt this is a problem in society that we need to talk about. And you bear with me that you don't often hear people even talking about it, even on TV.
We don't. So that's why I'm going to ask, because we have a lot of other issues to talk about in society, right? We have female genital mutilation. We have, social injustice, racial injustice. Still, like, what was it that touched you to talk about barrenness? Do you know someone personally? Do you know someone personally in the community you were growing or your family who was afflicted with barrenness, and you firsthand saw it, and that was what moved you to pick this topic?
No,
so it just came upon
it was
your
just
heart.
something that came upon my heart. It was something that I observed, especially watching, African movies and seeing how barren women were treated. And those movies, they tell us what actually happened on the ground. Yes, yes. So I just decided to pick it up and then write something on it.
Who's the main character in the Agony of Barrenness?
Sunoma.
Sunuma.
Yes, Sunuma.
Sunuma is a Wali name.
Yes.
What does it mean? Let's pretend I don't speak Wali. What does Sunuma mean? Because it's a beautiful name.
Literally, it means goodness is sweet.
Goodness is sweet.
Or you can just say it's good to be good.
So tell us about her story. Who's Sunuma in this story, and what happens to her?
Sunuma is in the story a very beautiful lady. She finds a man of her choice.
Oh.
Usually the belief is that it is the men who are supposed to propose. And so when you find a woman who is interested in a man, and let's say she mans up and goes to this man and tells him that she's interested in him, it is seen to be as though it is outside the rule of making proposal. But I don't see anything wrong with that. If a lady is interested in a gentleman, there's nothing wrong with just going and making those confessions, though we don't actually see it happening. So
Sunuma found the man.
Sunuma found that man. Now it also happens that there was also another lady who was also interested in this man.
Okay.
So there was a kind of rivalry between them. But the man tended to have a lot of affection for Sunuma, so ultimately he gave in. So when he married Sunuma, then the defects of barrenness started cropping up. And then the family members of the man said that no, if your wife is incapable of giving birth, that's not the reason why we went to have that marriage contracted. So it's important that you get a different woman. But apart from that, the kind of treatment that Sunuma was being offered in the family changed. They now saw her and think she was less of a woman. And in the story, I portray Sunuma to be a very beautiful lady. And like I told you, this superstitious belief that sometimes comes. So they believe that probably Sunduma's beauty, or she has exchanged her beauty for barrenness. Or because
because sometimes we hear that maybe like Sunduma wants to give a womb back.
You get it. So those kind of superstitious beliefs were foisted on her. But Sunduma also wanted to prove a point that I am married to you not because I want to disrupt your life. Okay, but I'm married to you because I genuinely love you, and I would have definitely given birth to children for you if I have that opportunity. Okay, and so because of that, I am going to stay with you regardless of the fact that your people are maltreating me, including you, because I have married you for a reason. And our society, they do not look at the reasons that led to the breakage of marriage. They look at the embarrassment the breakage of marriage brings. You understand? Because they will always say, our mothers have been through it, you understand, before, so why can't you also go through it? You get it? So that is why today it is not that easy that after one or two quarrels you have with your husband and you want to leave, your mothers tell you, you think those years we've stayed with your parents, we didn't encounter all these kind of problems. So she stayed, and The second lady that the man marries, whose name is Hera.
Oh, so he goes ahead to marry a second
Yes,
woman.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Her name is Hera. So, she had a child with Hera, and you see that did not kind of, ignite the jealousy of Sondama. She helped, and then they all began to look after this child. But because the woman still, Hera still felt that, the presence of Sondama probably was causing some kind of blockage. So let me just do away with her. So it's a long story, but I wouldn't want to say everything so
Yeah,
that other
exactly.
people.
We wouldn't want to give it all away.
Yes, yes,
Wow.
yes,
So he
yes.
married a second woman, had
Mm,
a kid.
mm.
Sunuma was still kind, but he
Yes,
wanted to do away with it.
yes, yes,
If you
yes.
want to find out more, you need to, of course, read the Agony of Barrenness.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a favorite chapter in the
Yes,
book.
yes, I
Not
do.
just a chapter, a favorite,
That's
like a
true.
short piece.
That's true.
Just
That's true.
read something small for us.
And that's from chapter 14.
Okay.
Yes. So the child that Hera gave birth to, her name is Tibuarata.
Tibuarata.
Let's love one another.
Okay.
When Tibuarata was left with 2 weeks to attain 1 year, her grandfather Danable gave up the ghost at the advanced age of 73.
Okay.
This made the household somehow hollow, for the master of it was gone. But not much wailing was done, though Chana and Sonoma had shed tears for a day or two. It was unnatural to see the people of Kabanya crying over the death of an aged person. To them, it was useless crying over the death of an aged man who had outlived his usefulness on earth. But this in no way meant that they never put on sad faces when someone gave up the ghost at an advanced age. For that, they would readily do. 2 weeks later, Sonoma found herself sitting in their reception hall with her special personal asset, her charming personality and good looks. She was dressed in some costly clothes, but inside her was a languorous spirit, a pathetic feeling A pathetic feeling had lodged itself onto her heart, cancelling out her sense of values and her breathtakingly good looks. It was obvious that she was thinking about her deceased father-in-law and her barrenness. The two thoughts allowed depression and frustration to cramp into her being, making her feel as though she was wallowing through strange paths which consist of deception and delusion. To her, her life was on an endless road of pain and bitter sorrow, and she could not grasp the real reason why a complete woman like her should come under such a burdensome carpet of life. She tried singing to steel up herself, but her voice sounded unnatural and unmusical. She gazed up at herself weepingly and began to speak to herself in a sorrowful but subdued tone. When will my plight take leave of me? When will my plight be better than that of someone? When will my heart get some comfort? Ndana na ngwene. Her words reveal how desperately her eyes were struggling to catch a glimpse of the luminous light of love and bliss. She bent her head down and heaved out several sighs of pain. Presently, a beautiful little boy stormed up in the reception hall. All his body parts were complete. He was a bit tall and slightly stout. She gazed at him with soft eyes and tried to smile, but her whole being was beclouded with so much despair and grief that what appeared on her face as a smile was only a sorrowful expression of a devastated soul. The little boy ran up to her and started calling ecstatically at the top of his parrot-like voice. "Sonoma, my love, I have come to you. My beautiful queen with breathtakingly good looks, I have come to sit on your laps." This tossed out her grief and filled her with laughter, which was partly borne by wonder and shock. But the little boy, appearing to be insensitive to her laughter, continued, Sonoma, you have stopped giving me gift. Why? Give me something, or carry me in your arms and appease me with a beautiful song." She laughed with extensive joy, as if her wheels of predicament had suddenly been turned into wheels of good fortune.
Beautiful.
She picked him up into her arms, and the vault of her happiness opened at once.
Now, we wouldn't want to give too much of the book away. I know if I don't come in, you're going to read the whole book. Obviously, this is your favorite. I was going to ask which is your favorite book.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can tell.
Mm.
I would like us to go to the next book, but before we do, my last question on the Agony of Barrenness is: what was the most? Because you definitely did some research, right?
That's true.
As you're writing this book,
Mm.
what's the most shocking thing you found out that you didn't know before? Did you find out anything so shocking as you did your research for this book on barrenness?
Yes, I did, and that was after I read certain pieces from different African countries as to how they treat
Treats.
barren women.
Wow.
And I think that is so disgusting.
And what was the most disgusting or shocking
Some to
thing
the
you
extent will even say that, it's better to kill a barren woman if you have it, so that it can easily
Wow.
pave a way for you to have another woman.
read? Oh, wow.
You understand? So we have a very bad attitude towards that, and I think it is an insult to womanhood because
It's an insult to humanity.
yes, and
Yeah.
for me, I think um, look, there are problems that we have with us, and the best way we can always solve our problems is to sit down and try to devise very important means of solving those problems. You don't solve problems, especially something that has or something that is affecting another person, by thinking that the best you can do is to wipe out that person. That's not how we solve problems.
I think the Agony of Barrenness, it's such a broad book. It's very thick, but not just that. It touches on such a broad topic that perhaps would have to make time and actually like digest and talk about it in depth, because you have picked a very important topic, a
That's
very
right.
sad one as well, that a lot of women are going through, one that has not received as much attention as it should.
That's
So
right.
I think in the future we need to definitely talk more about this.
Right.
Let's talk about Twisted by the President. I know
Yes.
that's your latest work.
Yeah, that's my latest
And
work.
it's not even out in the public
Not
domain
yet, not
right?
yet.
So when are you planning to launch that one?
Next year, January.
Next year, January.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes,
But I mean, like I can see the hardcover. Isn't it done?
yes. Yes, it's done. So we just planning
The
around.
event.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. So what's Twisted by the President
Yes,
about?
yes. Twisted by the President it concerns itself with oppression of African leaders, how oppressive some of them can be. It also concerns itself with, like Chinua Achebe pointed out, and a man of the people, corruption, bribery. Now, if you look at what happened some time back, especially in Ghana and in other African countries, you see that some of our past leaders were very cruel.
Yeah.
Very cruel to the extent that those that were very distinct academics in society, who used to construct their government constructively, were those they would secretly pick up and go and execute them.
So is that what happened to your main character?
Yes,
Was
that's what happened.
Was he the good guy or
yes,
the bad
yes,
guy?
yes, yes, yes. He was the good guy.
Okay.
You understand?
So what's his story?
So he was a good guy. A lecturer of social anthropology at the University of Ghana.
Okay.
You understand? Who at the same time was one of the bitter critics of the government of the day. Okay, and the government felt that this particular person is a thorn in our flesh, so let's find a way of getting away with him, or let's find a way of just wiping him off. And that was so persistent back during the days
Definitely.
of I don't want to mention names,
No,
but if you look at the
so
likes,
I want us to talk about your book. I
Yeah.
want to talk about what's happening in your book.
Yeah,
'cause
so
I
that's-
want people to read.
yes, so
Twisted.
that's exactly what I'm telling you. So that
Okay.
is exactly what happened in the book.
Okay.
But my feeling is that, you see, academics are there for us, or should I say academicians. I mean, look at how much we have benefited, or we are benefiting from the works of Chinua Achebe. Look at how much we are benefiting from the works of Professor Kweku Anyidoho,
Yeah.
Ngogi Wachiango. These people are there for us. They are there to do researches for people of our caliber to read, to gain much more knowledge and to see how we can also write for others coming up. So once we have a geographical space, and that geographical space has a system in the sense of government or governance that affects the life of the people, and anything that affects the life of the people, they should have that right to comment on it.
Of course.
So if, for instance, in Nanado's government, it affects the lives of people, it could be positive, it could be negative, and people will have the right to comment on it. You understand? So the best thing is not always to attack people that constructively criticize your government, because your government is made up of human beings who have their own flaws, They are not perfect, okay? But some of our past leaders, even some present leaders that we have today, think that they are perfect and that anytime they are criticized, then it means that you are stepping on their fresh wounds and then they have to react. And that is not right.
So we definitely have a long way to go, and I'm sure Twisted by the President is shedding light on some of the topical issues when it comes to government. At the end of the day, government is supposed to be government for the people and by the people.
That's
And
true.
I think where we get it wrong is politicians think, I mean, why do they become VIPs when they are vote? They are supposed to be public servants. They are
That's true.
supposed to be, you know, doing the bidding of the people. But
Right.
we get it
And the other way around.
twisted.
Yes.
You know, no pun intended. It's been a very long and insightful interview. We're almost at the end of it. Before we go, I'd just like to ask, what is your creative process like, right? Like, you know, how do you go, like, from the conception of the idea, like what inspires whatever you choose to write, and then how long does it take from when you first get the idea to actually sitting down and deciding that I want to do this?
For me, in my case, whenever I just think about the idea, I just begin right away.
Okay.
And so, whilst they were working on this book, after I
The
have finished
Agony of
writing,
Barrenness,
yes,
that
yes,
is.
yes, I have started with this, and as I write, I do research as well to find other important materials that I need to, look at and then see what they have also talked about or what they have also mentioned, which I feel is important, that I also add something to it, or something that they haven't mentioned that I feel is important that I add something. So as I write, I at the same time do research on my
Of
works.
course, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
You are a law student.
Right,
What
right.
are your future plans? Are you going to stick to writing for a living, or you will, once you pass the bar, you are dropping writing and practicing law?
Yes, writing is part of me. As I go along, I would want to even start writing some books in law. But for now, I think I do not have the requisite knowledge to be able to do that. So, after God willing, Ghana School of Law, when I become a lawyer, I pray. I will look at how I can also contribute
But you'll never give
my
up
knowledge.
writing.
I'll never give up writing.
Would you say writing is profitable in a part of the world? Like, are you making money, to put it bluntly?
Well, no, and I do not write because I am driven by the monetary aspect.
So are you saying people are not buying the
People
books?
people do buy a request for it, but that is not what is driving me.
What
I have
drives you?
passion for
Okay.
writing, and that's the most important thing for me, and that is what has kept me ongoing. Because if you look at even how much I spend on this and then how much I sell it out, the disparity is so great. But that is not what I'm looking at. I feel so great when someone reads my book. He calls me and tells me, "Oh, I've learned this from your book, but these are also my criticisms. It helps to shape my life."
You know,
as
I
go
see
ahead.
you more as a teacher from what you've said. I mean, when we say teacher, it's not only one that's in the classroom or in the lecture hall. I see that your mission is to
Contribute
shed
to
light,
knowledge.
yes, contribute to knowledge,
That's
and then
true.
shed light on very, very important topics.
Yes, 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 yes.
Is it hard getting a publisher
Yes.
in a part of the world?
Yes, it's very hard getting a publisher. And even in our part of the world, how many publishers do we have?
Yes.
I mean, the only ones that we have are printers. You get it? Because the publisher will take the work, the publisher will, market the book.
Maybe give an advance.
You understand? So, because we don't have a lot of publishers in the system, adequately resourced to be able to do that work, sometimes you have to resort to printers. And at
So
the
you
end of the
basically
day,
wrote the book and just printed it.
yes, yes, yes. So you write the book, you get editors to edit it, and when you are done, then you get in touch with a printing company. They will also go through it. If they see it is worthwhile, then you go into the contract of the printing it for you.
It sounds like such a big challenge.
It is.
And this is just in Ghana,
Yes,
at least
yes,
from
yes.
what we know. It
Yes.
sounds like a big challenge.
Yes, yes.
But it's not a turn off still from writing.
That's
It's
true.
still,
Yes, yes.
no matter what, you know this is what you want
Yes,
to do.
yes, yes. And the reason could be, I mean, we don't have a lot of people in Ghana who, or maybe in Africa, who develop so much interest in reading. Ghanaians are not that much interested in reading. They are interested in business and other things. But we still have some Ghanaians who will appreciate such works and will help you promote them.
Finally, before we go, what do you think we could do to change this, our attitude towards reading?
I think the most important thing that we have to do is how we train our children from the beginning. Because when you teach your children, how to read, or you start with them from the early ages or the early stages. Then when they grow up, it will become part of them.
And instill in them the importance of books.
That's true.
Because there's a lot of knowledge in books.
That's true. It will become part of them.
Yeah.
That's the best thing I can say. And maybe probably to just say we should just do a little bit of education. There's a need for us to reach out and speak to people and let them know that, look, the books that have been written for us, there's a lot of knowledge in those books. Let's, pick up those books and read them. Whatever book they are, religious books, fiction,
non-fiction.
yes. There is no book you will pick and you will not learn one or two, important or relevant thing from it. So I think it's important that we do that education. And I'm very happy about Ghana Association of Writers, GAO.
Okay.
Yes, that is one thing that they have taken up, and they are reaching out, they are educating the Ghanaian public regarding the importance of reading.
And of course, we are partners with the Creative Writing Academy. Maybe from here, we could, off air, to tell you more about them and you see how you could partner with them also to get word out about your work. Where can your books be purchased? Because I'm sure people would want to read.
The Agony of Barrenness, if you go to
please
APP,
hold it up, because
APP
this
Books,
is such a beautiful book,
yeah,
man.
APP Books Services.
APP Books
Yeah,
Service.
just by
EPP.
Legon. Yeah, EPP. Yes.
That's if you're in Ghana.
Yes.
But if you're out of
yes.
Ghana, can it be purchased online?
That's what I'm still looking at.
Okay, because we are a global platform. We have
yes.
listeners from all over the world, and I'm sure, especially our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, are going to want to purchase it.
That's true. But the EPP Book Services is not nationwide. It's just by the one that is adjacent University of Ghana.
Okay, so we need to talk marketing here, because you have got an amazing product.
That's
so we
true.
need to talk making it national, making it global as well. So you definitely need to speak to the Creative Writers Academy, Creative Writing Academy, and I'm sure they would, help you to facilitate that.
Right.
Is there any last words you'd like to say before we go? I'd like you, our former president passed as well.
Right, yes, very sad for the nation, and we wish him well in his next journey. There was something that give me this kind of feeling about our former president regarding how much he was so much attached to the life of the masses, the underprivileged. That's one thing that made him look so unique to me, though I also have my own reservations when it comes to his life. But I think it's a big loss to the nation, and we will continue to miss him.
Okay. So Saeed Froko, Saeed Abdullahi
Fadlulahi. But let me also say a big thank you. Yeah, let me also say a big thank you to these few people. Dr. Edward Nambigini, lecturer in literature at the University of Ghana, Antonio Benafranyi, General Secretary of Ghana Association of Writers, Alhaji Wahab Isa, who is the Naiba Mayor of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Honorable Dr. Rashid Pelpo, Member of Parliament for West Central, and Yahya Kasim Labaran. They painstakingly did the editing and proofreading of the manuscript for me, and I will remain indebted to them for that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Saeed, thank you so much for coming to the studios.
Thank you.
And one last time, please hold up the Agony of Barrenness. And of course, on barrenness, we're having a conversation off air that generally it's a negative word, right? True. Because in our part of the world, in Africa, when we say barren land, barren woman, that's such an evil word.
That's true.
And for whatever reason, we immediately say it's female.
That's true.
Whenever it's a man, it's not barren. But when it's a woman, it's barren.
Yes,
so that is such a negative word. If a couple is unable to have kids, they have to go to the doctor. There are a lot of medical procedures right now available, and a lot of the times you'll find out that it's not even from the woman.
That's true.
Like I have heard some crazy stories where because of how women are blamed, some of them go outside their marriages, get pregnant, and have kids, and these men walk around thinking they have kids.
That's
true.
So
the no one is barren. If a couple is unable to naturally have kids, you cannot tell from just looking at them whose fault
Yeah,
is it
that's
until
true.
they go to the hospital.
That's
And
true.
even then, there are lots of procedures available right now to make sure that every couple can naturally have kids.
That's true.
And even if naturally you cannot conceive, you can always have a surrogate. So
Right.
definitely, barren is a word that needs to be stricken off our vocabulary.
That's true.
And
It should not be used
it
with
should not
regard
be
to
used.
women who are.
It should not be used with regards to anyone
Right,
at all.
that's true.
If a
Yeah.
couple is unable to naturally reproduce,
Mm.
and sometimes maybe you just don't want to have kids.
That's true. Yes,
so
I mean people marry for so many reasons.
people marry for so many for so many reasons. No
that's
woman
true.
is barren. She has life.
That's true.
She has potential.
Mm,
She has a heart. There's so much, like, not even when you are dead are you barren,
Yeah, that's
because when
true.
you are dead you tend to manure for the soil,
That's
and then you
true.
fertilize the soil.
Yes.
So barren is dead. I mean, barren is worse than dead.
That's
No
true.
one is barren. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are hoping that so that's why your book is so important, and education needs to get out there. We need to respect our women. We need to strike out these negative cultural practices
Yeah.
that just dehumanize people. Thank you so much, Saeed, for coming to the studio. You can find his books at the EPP Book Service at
Yes.
Legon,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
then very soon nationwide,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
globally as well, because
That's true.
Africa Global Radio is a huge platform.
Right.
And I'm sure you'll be getting lots of calls from now. What are your social media handles?
Facebook, I am there as Saeed Fadlulahi Froko, and then the Twitter Saeed Fadlulahi Froko. Those are the media handles that I have so far. Social media handles. Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming in, for honoring our invitation. We wish you all the best, and quite a determined and strong young man. And he said it all. We don't have proper publishers, but from his own pockets he's managed to write and publish 2 books, and he doesn't plan to stop anytime soon.
Yeah.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's a little over time, but it's my last day on the job for now. My name has been Zakia, Zakia, a singer, sometime host.